Hello and welcome to Non-Inkables. This is the podcast episode number 19. Yeah, episode number 19. So our team finally decided on a deck, sort of. We're pretty sure what we're going to play, but I think there's still going to be some tweaks in terms of what the deck list is. And surprisingly, it is not red-purple. I say surprisingly because I thought I was definitely going to play red-purple. But I was convinced we're going to play red-blue, which I did try to play last set. And I think the major problem was one of the first people I played with red-blue was Ed Chu, the guy who won Dallas. And so I was like, this deck doesn't work. But yeah, so we are going to play that. And we're just working on practicing the matchups and also tweaking the deck a little bit. So we had our team practice on Wednesday, and then on Thursday we were supposed to go to Victory Point to play in their constructed tournament, but I was so excited about this new deck and I wanted to practice it, and I was like, okay, but if I go to a constructed one, I have to pay money, and two, I only get to play 3 rounds, right? Whereas if I don't go and I stay home, I save money, and also I get to play way more games. And then because I'm playing against Brian, like we could play open face, I can play any deck against any deck I want. So I can do very specific testing. So I ended up not going. And then there was actually no tournament on Friday at DVY, our usual one that we always go to, because they were having like a card thing on Saturday that they had to set up for. So yeah, ended up not going to any tournaments, but still very productive in terms of practicing matchups. And I think because we're going to play red-blue, like part of red-blue is like you're really kind of playing by yourself for a while because you're not really interacting with the opponent so much because you're just like ramping and doing your own thing. And I think because of that, like it's easier to practice on your own, even if you don't have an opponent. And then also it's easier to practice against like AI on ink table because it doesn't really matter what your opponent is doing. Eventually you just get the tum-tum out and you lucky dice. Or if you play how like I've been playing, I've won a bunch of times without doing that, which I guess is not a problem because I'm winning, but is also like, I don't think that's how it's supposed to do or how it's supposed to work, how it's supposed to do. Okay, my English as a second language is really coming out. Last week, I did post a video called To Quest or Not to Quest, which I will link both down in the description below and like a little thingy in the video. It's part of the TCG Foundation stuff that I'm putting up. So I released one a few weeks ago called Level Up Your Lorcana Skills, and that was all about different levels of playing. And then this one is about when you should quest, when you should not quest, when you should do nothing, which I found to be very helpful. So I know last episode I had all these big plans. I was going to release like 3 videos or 4 videos in one weekend. Yeah, didn't happen. Turns out I was too ambitious, which I should have known. And so, sorry about that. I did end up opening that Shimmering Skies case that I got that went from San Francisco to Colorado and then back to like Oakland. And it had no enchanteds. I didn't record it. Maybe that's the problem. When I don't record it, I don't get a good pull, but that didn't happen before. I don't know. I feel like our luck is finally balancing out because we had I feel like before Shimmering Skies, every single case we opened had 2 enchanted per case, which is way above. It's like twice the rate that you should be pulling. And so now it's finally kind of balancing out and we're getting cases with no enchanteds, which is kind of sad, but last. Currently, if you're watching this today, the day it's released, Labor Day, September 2nd, the Disney website is having a sale of 30% off if you buy $150 or more. And it does apply to Lorcana cards. So at first I saw it and I was like, this is not going to apply because normally it doesn't apply to Lorcana and it doesn't apply to Legos because I've been trying to wait for this Lego set to go on sale and it has never been on sale. So I didn't even really check. But then someone posted about it in one of our Discords. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so I bought a case of Floodborn because that currently is either, when you try to buy it somewhere else, it's either MSRP or higher. And it has a lot of the good cards, like Tragic Beast is in there. I don't remember what else, but it has a lot of good cards. I think Fishbone Quill is in there. It has basically a lot of the Floodborn shift targets. And so, or not the targets, but the Floodborn shift characters. Because it was Rise of the Floodborn, makes sense. And so it has a lot of good cards. So I bought a case of that. I actually accidentally first bought a case of Ursula's Return. And then later I was like checking it and I was like, oh shoot, I totally bought the wrong case because I was trying to do like 4,000 things at the same time and clicked mistakenly. And so now I'm trying to return that one. I mean, ideally I could return it before they ship it out, but I don't know if that's possible. But I have messaged them to see if I can return that one because I don't want that. Yes, so a case of Floodborne will come soon, which I'm very excited about. What else? Oh, I was able to donate all of our bulk, so all our common, uncommon cards to a local game store. So there's a local player named Flynn who added me to like a Bay Area Lorcana League Discord after I won. Brian says I got added after I won the set championships for set 3 in Martinez. And I totally don't remember because I didn't really use Discord until very recently. Like I had an account for a long time. I think I made it for, I'm not sure what I made it originally for. I'm trying to look at like my oldest messages and see. I think I made it for Animal Crossing, like to trade characters. So I think that's how I got my Marshall in Animal Crossing and stuff like that. I used it basically to trade characters, my Marshall and my Raymond and all that stuff. So I wasn't really using it. So he did add me. It's called like Bay Area Lorcana League Nerds, which shortens to Ballin, which is awesome. So I was like, hey, because I'd seen him post before about like bulk and stuff. And I was like, hey, are you accepting bulk? And he was like, yeah, I'll take it. And I was like, okay, is there an amount of bulk that is too much bulk? And Flynn was like, no, we'll take whatever. And then any extra we'll just donate to the store that we usually play at. And I was like, okay, great. And then I brought it and I had like 3 boxes. So 2 like thread up boxes, which are like pretty big. And then another like, I would say medium sized cardboard box. So I brought in 1 and then Flynn was like, oh, I did not take you seriously when you said you had a lot of bulk. Because I guess before anyone who had donated bulk had only donated like at most a booster box full. And so I donated probably like, I don't know, I would say probably like 30,000 cards would be my guess. And it's set 1 through set 5. And then ended up, I think the owner person came and helped me get the other 2 boxes from my car. And then I was like, thanks. And so at some point, Flynn said he's going to sort through it and then the rest is just going to get donated. I was like, because I don't need it. This is just taking up room and I don't have any more room to store it. And I was like, okay, so it is sorted partially by color and then within the color by set. And then if it's an earlier set, I did sort it by number and then I got lazy. So then later sets, not so much. So yeah, I was able to get rid of a ton of our bulk, which is awesome. And I hope that it helps other people who are not sure if they want to spend money on Lorcana or if they don't have the money to like kind of start them off. Yeah. So that was pretty exciting because now I'm like, oh, I have so much room. It's not just cards that I don't need 30 copies of Ariel who can't sing because she has legs, So yeah. And I did keep I think I kept 10 of each card of book. And then obviously like the more rare cards and stuff I put in our trade binder or it's in the store. But yeah, so got rid of that. That was exciting. Also exciting stuff is I started working on our team. I wouldn't say it's merch, our team outfits, team apparel. And so we worked on the design on Canva. And then I sent it to the guys. And then we kind of all voted. It's going to be like a t-shirt, a hoodie, a hat, and a playmat. I did think about doing like sleeves too, but from what I've seen, because one of our locals he made like sleeves that are his company name. They're dragon shields, and I feel like they shuffle weird. They're like kind of tacky, like they're not very smooth, and so when you shuffle them, it's hard to shuffle. So we didn't do sleeves. But we did do a mat, and we went very, I would say, minimalistic. So it just kind of has, like on the front, it's going to have like the hexagon for non-inkables. And then on the back, it'll say like non-inkables within each person's name, like a melee name. So mine would be like QQ Kachu. And then the hat is just it's like a baseball hat. It's going to say non-inkables. And then the mat is just like a plain mat with non-inkables in the corner. I know a lot of teams do these like jerseys. So I've seen like baseball jerseys, and also they look like soccer jerseys, or I guess technically like esports jerseys to me as a person who doesn't play TCGs coming into it. And I don't like how they look. I think because I see them as like sports jerseys, but then like the people wearing the jerseys don't look like your classic sports people, I suppose. And so it's weird to me. But I think it's just because I'm not used to seeing that. Like I've only seen that, like, I guess that type of fabric in like a soccer jersey. And so that's the only thing I associate it with. So whenever I see it on somebody who doesn't look like they specifically play soccer, it weirds me out. So like even if I saw it on like a gymnast, I think I would be like, oh, that person seems too short to be wearing a jersey like that. And so obviously like TCG players don't all look like soccer players. So then I'm just like, when I see them, I'm like, oh, like it's very clear they're all part of a team. I think that part is great. And they look very cohesive. And the pictures look really cool, but then I'm just like, they don't look like they play soccer. And I'm like, this is not a soccer jersey. Q, get it together. But yeah, so we went more reserved. Also, I think the guys on our team are more of the reserved type. Also, I don't want to wear a soccer jersey. So it's just like a plain t-shirt. I bought a bunch of stuff, and I'm actually going to make it on my Cricut, which I totally bought for our wedding and said I was going to use it a bunch, and then have kind of used it sort of. So I will be able to kind of customize it a little bit. And then, yeah. Also, it is way cheaper to just make it yourself. And then I think with the Cricut, at least it'll look like it'll be like an iron-on, so it'll still look quite professional compared to like if I were to draw it with like puffy paint or something. But I'm very excited. We're gonna look like a team. This is very exciting. Okay, so those are the main things that had happened this past week. So no real tournaments, but we did have a team practice, which, as our team practices always go, are like 5 to 6 hours long, but super helpful, super informative. And then I posted 2 videos last week. This week, so one of the videos I was going to post last week that I didn't is the video about Tangled and going through basically the plot of that movie with the cards. So I'll do that this week. And then I kind of do want to keep pushing out these like how to be a better TCG player videos. But you guys have to realize I'm also limited based on like how much I know. I can only talk about what I know. And what I know is still, I would say, limited compared to like the people who have been playing TCGs for 5 million years, like their entire life, since I'm still pretty new to it. But I will work on that. I think maybe we could do another TCG terms video, or we could do a video maybe about deck building or inking. Those are my thoughts. Of course, I'm still trying to work out that like statistics-y video, but the statistics is challenging, I would say. So yeah, that is kind of it, I think. This week, I'm not sure if we're going to have a team meeting yet, but Brian and I probably will be. Oh, we're going to go to Games of Martinez on Thursday. So it's kind of where a lot of the locals kind of gather and practice. It has a lot of new people and stuff. And Gary has been going and really like helping out with that. And this week, Brian, I, and Tyler are all free. So we're going to go and practice. And then Friday, we will be at DVY for real this time. And then Saturday, there's a case tournament at one of our local game shops. And I'm so sad I can't go. We are going to a wedding of like one of my longtime friends from childhood. So unfortunately, we can't go to the case tournament. I was like, what if we go and we just, like, if we went to the case tournament, we'd only be playing in maybe like 3 or 4 rounds. And we'd have to go like fully dressed up in our, what is the dress code? I think cocktail garden, which I would totally do. But we wouldn't be able to place in the final, so there's no point. But I believe both Tyler and Gary are going, so hopefully they can win it and continue our team domination. But that is it for this week. I did want to talk about, there was a tournament over the weekend. There was a tournament over the weekend that was pretty big. So I'm looking it up on inkdex.com. So it was Charlie's Collectible Show 10K. And I feel like this Charlie's Collectible Show does a lot of tournaments that are pretty big. And so it was won by Ben DeCandio playing a steel song. I think I listened to him on a podcast. And he basically said that he works out so he can have more stamina to play Lacana. And I was like, maybe I need to work out more. And then second place was a Popsicle Ruby Sapphire deck. Third place was Ruby Amethyst. No, I'm not. AKA Kendall. Fourth place was Ruby Amethyst. And then in the top 8, it doesn't really list out like numbers. But one was Ruby Amethyst by Luca Serrano, and he had won, I think, like a 10K in the middle of step 4. And he's like a young guy, like a teenager. And I feel like when I play kids, I'm always like, okay, you're either going to be not very good because you're a kid and you're new, or you're going to be amazing. And I feel like Luca is one of those guys who's just very good. Okay, there was also an Emerald Amethyst deck and another Ruby Amethyst, Sisu on Ice, and then, or not Ruby Amethyst, Ruby Sapphire, Sisu on Ice, and then a Sapphire Steel. In the top 16, though, there was a bunch more Steel songs, 2 more Red Blue, and then a Purple Steel, which is interesting. So that's the deck that Brian really likes playing. He's always wanting to play Purple Steel. The thing with Purple Steel is because Pete exists now and it's a bounce deck, the most annoying thing is if you're playing songs or something, like either Amethyst Steel or Amber Steel or Amber Emerald, and they just keep playing Pete and then bouncing it, is the most annoying thing. I know from personal experience. But yeah, so I think a pretty diverse meta, kind of like set 3 meta. The fact that there was only 3 combos in the top 4, but in like the top 16, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different color combinations. I think is pretty good. That's a good meta, fun meta. Yeah. So the Steel song that won is like the usual. I feel like it's a very interesting Steel song because most of the Steel songs I've seen for this set have included Daisy Duck, and it does not. So for the 1 drops, it plays the 4 Cinderellas and the 4 Robin Hoods. 2 drops, it's the 4 Smees, the 4 Piglets, and then 4 Ursula Vanessa. So the singer 4. 3 drop, it's 4 Ariel, Spectacular Singers, and 4 Petes. And then 4 drop, it's got 4 Prince Naveen's and 4 Rapunzels. And then 5 drop, it's got the 4 Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood. And then as a 7 drop, it's got 3 copies of Cinderella Stout Hearted. So really kind of foregoing that Daisy Duck part. And then it plays 3 lanterns. So I think most of the Steel song decks I have seen so far haven't really included lanterns or Pride Lands or anything, which is interesting. And then for songs, it's got 17 songs. So it's got 4 Stormy Johns, 4 Strengths, 3 Along Came Zeus, 4 Whole New Worlds, and then 2 Bare Necessities. So it's a pretty interesting deck that doesn't, like, the only new card it's including from this set is Pete. And I think a lot of the decks that I've seen for set 5 are like that, where it's basically the same deck as either a set 3 or set 4 deck, and then like they'll add like 1 character in that's new. or maybe 2 cards in. That's new. There's not been any big changes where it's like all new cards or anything like that. So yeah, it's interesting. If you guys are going to Vegas, we will be there. That is what we're preparing for. If you see us, come say hi. And also, if you're preparing for Vegas, these are like good tournaments to take a look at to kind of guess what the meta will be, because we don't have Pixelborn, so you don't really know. I feel like with Pixelborn, you could kind of guess the meta better because it's just mostly who you're playing online is. But I feel like this one is a good indicator because it's very big. So 186 people. There was also one on the player network that was 62 players. That was won by a red-blue item deck. And number 2 was also red-blue. And then 3 was Steel Song. 4 was red-blue. So that, and then like looking down through top 8, and looks like top 8 was more Steel Song and like blue steel. And then top 16, there were 2 emerald steel decks and then some ruby amethyst. So it's interesting to see who ends up on top. I'm looking at this like red blue deck, and it's got a lot of items. It's got some weird, oh my goodness, this red blue deck is very interesting. Okay, so I will link this red blue deck down below, but it is the first place of the Lorcana Anniversary 2024, and it's by a person named Micah. It has, listen to this, 1-drop King Candy, Sovereign of Sugar, so that's a new card. 2-drop Cruella de Vil from set 2, Fashionable Cruiser, so she's a 3/2 but has evasive on her turn. It also has Gaston, Arrogant Hunter, 4/2. It has LeFou, Instigator. When you play him, you can ready a character, and that character just can't quest. Also 2-drop Noi, Orphan Thief, 1/2 quest for 2. And if you have an item, this character gains resist and ward. It's got 4 T-Bows, so a lot of 2-drops in this deck. 4 T-Bows, that lets you ink a second time. It's got 3 Tritons, or 2 Tritons. It's got 4 Flower Shams. It's got 4 Prince John, Gold Lover. Ooh, there's like so many new cards in this deck. This is very interesting. And that lets you exert to play an item from your hand or discard with cost 5 or less for free exerted. It's got the King Candy Shift, Sweet Abomination. So it's a shift on 3. When you play this character, you may draw 2 cards and put a card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. So basically, draw 2 cards, keep a card. And then it's got Maui. It's got this Sapphire Gaston. It's got Cusco, which is a new card. It's got Madame Medusa. And then for the items, it's got like Popsicle, Potion of Might, which is new, Shield of Virtue, Maui's Fishhook, Poisoned Apple, which I've literally never seen anybody play, but that's cool. And then 3 of the Plank, which I've also never seen anybody play. And then 2 Sword of Truth, which I've also never seen anyone play. And then 3 Brawls. So a very interesting, very, very spicy deck list. So yeah, I think going into Vegas, these are good things to keep kind of an eye on just to see what people are playing. Yeah. And it's also interesting, I think, sometimes to look at the differences between countries. So it'll have like those 2 I talked about were like based in the US, and then there's like a Swedish one that was won by Emerald Amethyst, and it had an Amber. Second place was Amber Emerald. Third place was Steel Saw, and 4th place was Amber Emerald. What am I saying? Emerald Amethyst. It's got some red purple, some red blue, some yellow green. This interesting kind of combo. Yeah. I think for these ones, it's better to look at the ones that have a lot more players. It's more informative than to look at the ones that only have like a couple players. So yeah, so interesting. That's such an interesting red-blue deck. That's not the deck we're playing. But yeah, that is it for me. So basically this week, stay tuned for a Tangled video and then maybe another TCG Foundations video. And we will be playing in some tournaments this week, hopefully. And we're going to go to our local kind of testing group thing for the first time. And that's it for me. And as always, keep shuffling hopefully you don't end up with a whole handful of non-inkables. All right, bye.